Well, that is embarrassing. All right. Do we have sound now? Can you hear me? Wow, I've been going for about like 6 minutes, and well, that sucks. Freaking embarrassing. Hope somebody gets that reference. That's from alright, we good, bro, we good. Letterkenny, anybody? It's fucking embarrassing. I love that show. But yeah, no, Suicide Squad Blaze. This comic is great. I am a whore for the Suicide Squad, as I said while I was muted. And yeah, I became like a big Suicide Squad fan over the past couple weeks because when I was doing that Barbara Gordon legacy video, I wanted to like have my I's dotted and my T's crossed, so I wanted to really like properly research all that I could about post-crisis Barbara Gordon. And since she makes her post-crisis debut in the Suicide Squad, the Carl Kessel and John Ostrander version of the Suicide Squad, yeah, I really I went into that book for Barbara Gordon, but I came out appreciating just the Suicide Squad as a concept, and as a story and a narrative, and I really love that material. Really solid stuff. If you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend doing so. Luckily, there are still copies available at my local comic shop of the Suicide Squad reprints. I didn't buy them. I just sat in my in the basement of a comic shop and like read them like a bum because comics are expensive. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed what I was reading. It was really good stuff, and it's weird. Kind of set a bar for what the Suicide Squad should be, which I don't know. There's some good Suicide Squad stuff coming out right now, or I guess the past couple years, but there's a lot of really interesting like political stuff in that original Suicide Squad series. There's a lot of really interesting social topics that are touched on that I think for like the context of like 1986 or 85 or whatever is very like ahead of its time, I would say. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed that Suicide Squad book, and I've become a fan of the Suicide Squad in recent years. Months. I've always liked the Suicide Squad. Like I started reading that book with the New 52, mainly just because Harley Quinn was on it, and I was curious to see what they were going to do with a rebooted version of Harley Quinn, because that's a character I have problems with, or I guess had problems with. I think the past couple of years have been pretty good for her character, when they're not making her, chick Deadpool, that is. But I loved all the stuff that Adam Glass was doing with Harley Quinn. I liked all the stuff that Sean Ryan did with Harley Quinn. Shit, now I'm talking about Harley Quinn. Probably because I'm looking at it right here on the cover. This is a great cover, by the way. I don't know who did this, but this is the variant, and I don't know, I absolutely love it. I think this is like gouache. I'm not sure though. Really good stuff though. It's Harley and Peacemaker on the cover. Okay. I definitely give the big two a lot of shit for synergy, and I still kind of maintain my frustration where I don't think characters should be validated based on adaptation. But yeah, dude, I don't know. It's good that Peacemaker's getting some more love. He's a character I think is really fascinating. He shows up a lot in the Vigilante comics by Marv Wolfman. As a recurring villain. Hey, what's up, Tristan? How you doing? Josiah says, have I ever read John Ostrander's Suicide Squad? Yes, I have. I just talked about that endlessly. Tristan says, hi, MGB. Did you hear the news about DC's Dark Crisis? It's going to be a summer event that will take place after the death of the Justice League, and issue number 75 is going to be written by Joshua Williamson. Cool. I hope. Okay. I'm sure the book will be fine. Joshua Williamson is a wholly competent writer, really talented guy, and has some really fun ideas. The fact that we're getting another crisis? We just had death metal? What's with that? Like, seriously, what's with that? No, it's just... It's one of those weird things where I think the concept, or I guess, like, the pitch is what I have a problem with. Where it's like, no, it's a crisis, and, like, the Justice League is gonna die. That part, that just feels very market driven, but, like, not in a creative way, just in a gimmicky way. But flip side, this is going to put DC in a situation where they have to utilize some of their legacy characters. Now, granted, we've seen this rodeo play out before. I'm not sure if you guys remember that post-Final Crisis era when I think it was with James Robinson and Mark Bagley era of the Justice League, when Dick Grayson was Batman and Donna Troy was picking up the slack after Wonder Woman was doing whatever it was that J. Michael Straczynski was trying to do with Wonder Woman. So you had like Dick Grayson as Batman and Damian as Robin, and Ryan Choi as the Atom was there. You also had Donna and Cyborg. Like, that was the Justice League for like a 3-year stint, and it was it's kind of mediocre. I hate saying that, but like, yeah, the stories were fine. It just kind of suffered from that problem where, like, Justice League is a weird book. Like, when it's great, and when it's not really worth talking about or mentioning or reading. But I thought the status quo was great. And then DC New 52 themselves. So it's kind of funny, like, all these years later, actually 10 years later, DC's kind of going back to that status quo, kind of, where the legacies are, they're back in the forefront. It's Wally West, it's Dick Grayson, it's insert Superman legacy character here. Because I think in the James Robinson run, it was Mon-El who was the Superman stand-in for the Justice League. But I don't know. It's I'm excited for that. I just wish that, like, some of the legacy characters that are being pushed to the forefront were, like, better written in, like, their solo adventures. Hold on a second. Josiah says, at this point, DC should do an event called Midlife Crisis where everyone is just old and sad. Written by Garth Ennis and drawn by Goran Parlov. DC, I gave you an idea. Where's my check? No. Funny. But no, that ironically enough, that sounds exactly like what Marvel's doing with the what's that line called? Life Story. I think that's a really good idea for Marvel. DC is a weird animal though, and I'm not gonna sit here and prejudge Death of the Justice League and the whole new like Dark Crisis that Joshua Williamson and like everyone at DC is kind of working on. I don't want to prejudge anything, but yeah, we've seen this play out before, and we've seen them like fumble the bag hard. So it's that's like the sad thing about like DC. I love DC, and I love that they are, they're built on legacy. The problem is that they never commit to the bit. Like that actual commitment that is required to like properly build legacy and like actually run with it for any like stretch of time. DC just they don't have that, and it's frustrating. As someone who likes those characters and likes that universe and has seen what they are capable of. Holy shit. This is how my parents felt about me in high school. Weird. Well, you learned the lesson somehow, right? But yeah, no, dude, it's just frustrating watching them continuously like build themselves up and then just come like crashing back down because just like poor decisions or making the wrong, like not even just poor, making flat out the wrong decisions. It's frustrating. But yeah, no, I'm glad that DC's trying to do more with the concept of legacy that they've kind of built themselves around. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna hold my breath. I'm gonna try not to get like too excited or get my hopes up, but I mean, it could potentially be good. I don't know. Like I really don't know until I see it, right? But yeah, no, that's all I got on actually no, that's not all I got on Dark Crisis. Okay, so with the legacy characters being pushed to the forefront, the question becomes what legacy characters is DC going to use? And how are they going to use them? And how effectively are they going to use them? Because like I said earlier, in that post Final Crisis era, like that whole like, what was it, Brightest Day? I don't know. I feel like that was so well transitioned. Like all of the tentpole heroes, like your Supermans, your Flashes and all. Well, not really Flash, but like Superman and like Batman and all those other characters. They kind of were transitioned into this era of being mythic. They weren't just heroes anymore. They were like, even like above icons. They were myths. They were larger than life. So they stopped doing the Justice League thing because the stories got too big for them to like still be bound to like a Justice League kind of a thing. So then the next generation took over, and I thought all of that was handled very well. I thought that whole era was handled very well. I thought those status quos were built up to very properly, And that's my one major fear with this whole like Dark Crisis and like the new status quo that DC's kind of building to with the death of the Justice League. John Kent hasn't really captured the hearts and minds of comic book readers in the way that I think DC would have liked them to. And despite the quality of the goddamn, I can't think of her name now. But the new Green Lantern that DC has, I don't see anybody talk about her, despite the fact that her book was pretty good. I haven't read it myself. Again, comics are expensive. It's not a thing where I just didn't care. It just, well, I didn't care. I'm not a Green Lantern guy inherently. But I heard it was a really good science fiction comic. Just comics are expensive. So I prioritize other books over it. But I heard her book is also really good. But like no buzz at all. Calderon is Aquaman. That's been a long time coming. But again, it's one of those unfortunate things where I think that status quo works in Young Justice better than it does in the comics. Because we lived with that character longer and like have a better understanding of who he is in that show than in the comics. So, you know, who else is there? And that's the unfortunate thing. Now, I think, you know, I think DC can definitely pull it off if you just give this new version of the Justice League a good writer, like a good creative team, a good artist. Oh wait, Yara Flor, she's great. Everyone loves Yara Flor. I don't know why DC's canceling that book, but people love Yara Flor. So yeah, but like outside of like Yara and maybe Calder, kind of via osmosis of the TV show, you know, what legacy characters does DC have that like people are going to readily accept as the new Justice League? Because I have a hard time seeing people accept Jace Fox as the new Batman for the Justice League. Like, say what you will about that. I don't think he has ascended to a place in which people are like ready to talk about him in the same vein as they talk about Bruce Wayne as Batman, in the way that people felt about Dick Grayson back in 2009, 2010. Feel me? It's just one of those situations. Tristan says, I thought of a new series that DC could make, and it's Trinity Legacy. It focuses on John, Damian, and Cassie, and it could be an Elseworld series with the original Trinity retire and become new heroes. That could be really cool. Unfortunately, I think that idea that might be too smart for DC. Maybe. I don't want to pick on DC. I love DC. And I feel like I'm picking on them a lot in a lot of my live streams. And I don't mean to, but they just make a lot of very like weird counterintuitive decisions. Like I've said this in live streams before, and I've said this in videos before. Marvel, for all the problems that I have with Marvel, at least I can track their logic. You know, like they're doing an upcoming Secret Invasion book, which is dumb, because why do we need another Secret Invasion? But they're doing it for synergy purposes. They're doing it because there's a show coming out which Marvel Cinematic Universe normies are going to flock to and say that it's like the greatest thing in the world, and are also going to completely ignore the comics because of course they do. They always do. Uh, so like, you know, it's, but I get it. I get Marvel's logic behind doing it. I get why they're doing it. And that's also not fair. Like, there are some Marvel movie fans that like do jump into comics because they love the movies, but it's not to the same degree that it's not to like the volume that I think Marvel editorial thinks that it is. But no, like, I understand Marvel's mindset. You know, I understand why Marvel, you know, pimps out characters in comics that nobody likes because they're big characters in movies that the general public adore and worship. So of course Marvel Comics is going to pimp out Captain Marvel, you know, or more particular Carol Danvers. You know, of course Marvel's going to pimp out the Inhumans because they're trying to make movies and, like, you know, rope them into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I understand the logic behind it. DC, I don't understand their logic at all. Like, at all. This is a company where, if you go back and look at the Comic-Con numbers, I know ICB2, they're one of the sales rate companies, or sites, much rather. Well, company site, sure, but they're one of the sales rate sites that track comic sales. And if you go back and like track the sales for like the Peter J. Tomasi and the Patrick Gleason Superman, that book sold very well. And I'm not just talking like very well for Superman, I'm talking very well. Superman got to the top 10 for the first time in 30 years, thanks to Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason. What was DC's response to that success? Kick them off the book and bring in Bendis at the height of his most divisiveness. And then take John Kent, this new character that everybody kind of universally like loves and like unilaterally praises, and then age him up like 10 years? What? Why? What are you doing? Like, I don't understand the thought process behind anything that DC Comics does. Like, I really don't. It's bizarre. I don't know how I got on that topic, but yeah, no, just DC's a bizarre company. I don't quite understand them. But yeah, no, Tristan, that is a great idea. I think DC Comics could definitely do a Trinity legacy book. Very similarly to how they did a Trinity, or I guess a Justice League legacy book with the Titans of Tomorrow, where Connor Kent was the Superman of the future, and Tim Drake was the Batman of the future who shot people in the face. And Cassie Sandsmark was the Wonder Woman of the future. I think you can definitely do that. But it just comes down to a question of whether or not DC actually will do it. That's kind of the problem. Josiah says, which artists and writers would you pick for this new Justice League? Well, it depends on who the team was, and it depends on what, like, the pitch is. Personally, if I'm gonna, like, fan cast a creative team, well, for artists on a Justice League book, I think one of the big things you need is something kind of off kilter. You know, like, it's hard to explain. You know how, like, Howard Porter in the 90s? You know, with that whole Justice League era, actually I have it right here. like this kind of art, right? You know, this is not really superhero standard as far as like Marvel is concerned. Because the reality is, when we think of superhero comics and like what standard art is, we're really thinking about Marvel art. You know, it's the Marvel method because Marvel's number one. Marvel's the top dog. Whatever Marvel does, everyone has to ape if they want to be successful. And just this was not the standard for like a superhero comic set by Marvel at the time. It's like dynamic and like, but like dynamic in a way where it's like you're looking at like a Chariots of the Gods kind of movie, but like in comic form. It's bizarre. I think that's the kind of art that you need in like a Justice League book. You need something epic and bizarre. The only person I can think of who fits that description right now is Daniel Warren Johnson. Like when you look at Daniel Warren Johnson's art, right? Like that book, the art, like his art is epic and a little bizarre. Like that's the energy that I think you need to bring for a Justice League book visually. As for writers, Daniel Warren Johnson. Again, Wonder Woman Dead Earth proved to me that like Daniel Warren Johnson gets DC. So anything that Daniel Warren Johnson wants to do with DC, I'm down for, because he gets that universe, he gets those characters, he gets that flavor, which is also why I'm very excited for that the Dinosaur Justice League book, Jurassic League. People are dogging that, but I'm ready for that shit. I think it looks great. Also, it's weird that people are dogging it when like this is JL Apes came out like 20 years ago. Like, it's superhero apes is cool, but like superhero dinosaurs isn't. Get the fuck out of here, man. But I also think that now, granted, I'm not sure if he would ever do it, but I also think that Liam Sharp would be perfect for a Justice League book. I'm not sure if his art would be perfect for a legacy Justice League book, but I don't know. I think just Justice League in general, Liam Sharp would be like absolutely perfect for. Who else? Well, I'm just looking at my bookshelf here, going like, who else would be a good artist for for a Justice League book? Frank Quietly, but Frank Quietly doesn't do, Hold on a second. Where are you? Ugh! This guy. Tommy Lee Edwards. Tommy Lee Edwards would be amazing for a Justice League book. Not just a Justice League book. A Justice League book centered around legacy heroes. I'm not sure if you guys are reading Jupiter's Legacy. This book is fantastic. It's probably my favorite. Yeah, probably is my favorite superhero comic coming out right now. Not that I don't like the Marvel and DC stuff. I think Iron Man is fantastic. I think Action Comics is great. This is my favorite superhero comic coming out right now. But yeah, no, Tommy Lee Edwards would be perfect as an artist on a legacy style Justice League book. His art's modern, but it's also very mythic. No, he'd be fantastic for that. As for writers, again, I don't know. Maybe Daniel Warren Johnson. Although the obvious choice, who I know would get the job, is Joshua Williamson. Nothing against Joshua Williamson. I think he's fine. I just don't think Joshua Williamson's the guy to do a Justice League book. I hate to say, I hate saying that, but like I can't dance around it. Joshua Williamson is not the guy to do Justice League, and I also don't think Joshua Williamson's the guy to like spearhead things. I'm sorry. I hate saying that. I love Joshua Williamson. I've met Joshua Williamson. He's a very sweet guy. I don't know if Joshua Williamson's the guy to spearhead anything. No. He's great when it comes to like books like The Flash, because he understands character, and he understands the DC universe in a way that like he is the ultimate fan who gets to write comics. He's Kevin Smith. And I love Kevin Smith. I think Kevin Smith's an amazing comic book writer. I think he's a really good storyteller. And I don't think Kevin Smith gives himself nearly as much credit as he like deserves. But he's also raised Catholic, so it's that whole thing of like whip yourself until you feel as though you've paid proper penance, I guess. But yeah, no. Kevin Smith, same thing. Great writer, great storyteller, understands characters. Maybe not the guy to lead an entire line moving forward. Not the guy to do it, but Joshua Williamson is like the natural choice to do that. For better or worse. Or Tom Taylor. Just saying that out loud hurt my soul. But yeah, no. Tristan says, what confuses me is that Hal Jordan is coming back as Green Lantern for the Justice League. Why could DC use Jessica Cruz since she's back as Green Lantern and is a way better Green Lantern than Hal? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I view Hal Jordan the same way that I view Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent and Wally West. No, not Wally West. Barry Allen. And, like, he's a tentpole character. But there's a weird loop. And it's a weird generational gap. People who are, like, my age and a little younger, like, that 25... Actually, I looked at the analytics. 16 to 25. Like my age group. The age group that like people like most of the people who watch this channel. Our age demographic. We grew up seeing Hal Jordan as like the standard default superhero Green Lantern. Because that's what he was in the 60s. And then when we started reading comics, that's what he was again, because he was brought back from the dead after a whole bunch of things happened. But for people who are like, Jeff Johns' age, Joshua Williamson's age, people in that age group, like 35 and like 50, Hal Jordan was gone for like 20 years. Not 20 years. More like 10. But Hal Jordan was gone for a significant amount of time. So for them, in their eyes, it's that like excitement of like Hal Jordan's back. But for like everyone who grew up reading comics between like 2003 and now, it's like, well, shit, he didn't really go anywhere, did he? But yeah, no. I definitely agree. I think if DC wants to double down on legacy, they gotta ditch Hal, just like they're ditching Superman, just like they're ditching Batman, just like they're ditching Wonder Woman, like they're ditching all the Justice League. You gotta clean slate that bitch. Just wipe it all away. And I think bringing in Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz, for that matter, would be really good for that. New Menace says, is the IDW TMNT any good? Because I'm kind of interested in it. Yes, it is. I absolutely love that series. I have the first, like, it's not an omnibus, but it's like a... complete collection, I guess you'd call it. It has like the first 15 or so issues, first 10 issues, and like a bunch of the like micro series. Really good stuff. It is bizarre though because Ninja Turtles are in a weird loop where I feel like they just keep telling the same story over and over again. Like you look at the old Mirage stuff, it's Turtles, they gotta fight the Shredder, and then the Shredder dies, but then you have to deal with the legacy of the Shredder. And then you have to deal with the Mousers, and then there's Triceratons, and then you have to deal with Kree takes over as the Shredder, and then it's more legacy of the Shredder, and there's Shredder clones, and oh no, it's the Krang, and then it's like the city at war. Ooh. I feel like Ninja Turtles is in a weird loop of telling the same stories over and over again. Like from the Mirage stuff to the cartoons, to like the rebooted comic series. And it's weird because each series, they're telling the same stories over and over again, but they're also taking some of the like unique things that each iteration does and adding it to the lore. So by the time you get to like the IDW Ninja Turtles, which is post the Nickelodeon show, post the Cartoon Network series, both Cartoon Network series, post all three Cartoon Network series, post the 80s cartoon, post the Mirage comics, you have this like crazy situation where you get to the Ninja Turtles now, where it's just kind of a collection of all of that stuff, but it's still following the same beats. Not in a bad way, mind you. I think it's a fascinating. I think it's a very Ninja Turtles is fascinating. That's all I can say. And I think the IDW Ninja Turtles is fantastic. And it's even more fantastic when you kind of look at it within the history of the Ninja Turtles from comics and pop culture. It's very unintentionally fantastic, in my opinion. Or maybe not. Hold on. Because this current IDW Ninja Turtle series, like right out the gate, it's all about reincarnation and following in the footsteps of what came before. Oh, shit. Oh. Maybe it is intentional. Maybe it is. Maybe they're doing something. Oh, shit. This would really suck if I've, jazzed this whole thing up and it's just a big happy accident. But still, I don't know. Now I'm thinking about this. But yeah, to answer your question, Numinous, yes, the Ninja Turtles is fantastic. I love the IDW Ninja Turtle series. And if you got the money for it, because it is pricey, if you got the money for it, it's a worthy investment. Tristan says, I thought of Joshua Williamson doing a new Justice League series. I titled it Justice League, or New Justice, like New Avengers, but without the League. And the artist could be Evan Reese, Dan Mora, and Jorge Jimenez. Dan Mora! Yes! Dan Mora is an amazing artist. Dan Mora would rock a Justice League book. Yeah, absolutely. Also, you reminded me, I'm really excited for that Dan Mora, Mark Waid, World's Finest book. Absolutely breathtaking and beautiful. I love the way Dan Mora draws Superman. I think Superman is a character that Dan Mora was kind of born to draw. But I also love Dan Mora's Batman. It's so bizarre. Batman is a character that I really like. But in the same way that like everybody has their own version of Batman, I have my own version of Batman, and my Batman, my Batman, is a version of the character that I think is long dead and buried. Oh no. It looks like my connection got lost. Hold on. Okay, I'm still here. Cool. Sorry, I looked like I froze for a second. But yeah, no. I'm like really shit. What was I talking about? I freaked out because it looked like I froze. I lost my train of thought. Damn it, what was I talking about? Oh yes, Dan Mora and Batman, and my version of Batman. So everyone has their own version of Batman that they love. My version of Batman is Denny O'Neil, like classic, like swashbuckling 70s Batman. I love that version of the character. I think he's fantastic. But it's always weird when I try to tell people about what I want from Batman. Whenever I say I want classic Batman to come back, people like immediately assume that I'm talking about like, like Batman and Robin, or like George Clooney, or like a Joel Schumacher type of Batman. But that's not really what I want. What I really want is like Batman universe. If you read the Bendis Batman book, which is bizarre for me to say out loud, because for all the problems I have with Bendis, or I guess modern Bendis, that is, that Batman universe book was great. And that art by Nick Darrington was also amazing. And that's another one. Nick Darrington will also rock a Justice League book. But hold on a second. But yeah, no, the Batman that I kind of want to come back is a version of the character that I think just people are so fixated on, like hyper dark Batman. People are very fixated on, I am the Knight. But what Dan Moore was kind of bringing to the table with that World's Finest book, where it's like a swashbuckling, fun kind of Batman. That's kind of the shit I'm into. Sorry, that was like a weird tangent, but yeah, no, yeah, no, I do think Dan Moore would be great on a Justice League book. Josiah Haynes asks, what about Hickman? Do you think his writing style would mesh well with Justice League? I don't know. I think a Hickman Justice League book would be fascinating. I'm not sure how people would react to a Hickman Justice League book, though. That's the thing. Hickman's great because Hickman is a science fiction writer. I'm not sure if you guys saw the video that I did with Jack Genocide, where we talked about the difference between Marvel and DC, and Jack brought up the Eternals and how that's a concept that is like so consummately Marvel, where we see the face of God and we see that God is indifferent towards the human struggle. That's Marvel. And Hickman gets that. And if you read a lot of Hickman's like indie work, that is also very apparent in Hickman's indie work. That's not really what DC's built on, though. Those are the values that DC's kind of brought up on. So yeah, I don't know. I would be fascinated to see a Jonathan Hickman Justice League book. I'm not sure how well it would do though. But I know I would love it. Tristan says, I had an idea called DC Robots, and it's another Elseworld story where the DC universe is cybernetics, and it's written by Jeff Johns and Jorge Jimenez. I showed it to my reading teacher, and he liked it. Oh, sweet. That's what's up. Like a cyberpunk kind of Justice League book. That'd be really cool. You could do a lot with Cyborg and Blue Beetle in that, too. Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. Yeah. Got a creative mind on you. Keep it up. New type, JB Lee. Hey, what's going on? I haven't seen your name in the chats before. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Unless you are usually here and you just change your name. That happens too. But what's up? Welcome to the stream. Hello. Love your vids. Question. Is there a way to make Miles work in the 616? Because I want him to succeed so that Marvel can finally stop resetting Peter into hip and young. Miles could be Pete's Nightwing. That's a really good question. I'm thinking. Is there a way to have Miles and Peter operate in the same setting? My instincts tell me yes. Because instinctively, just in the core of my being, like creatively, because I like to write too, I like to draw as well. Whenever people tell me that something is impossible, I see that as a challenge. And now I guess I'm challenging myself from like previous videos, and saying that Miles and Peter can't operate in the same dimension. I think they can. I think they can. Because I think anything's possible, creatively speaking. I think anything is possible. But Miles as he is right now, absolutely not. I think Miles as he is right now, Miles as a lot of, like in the way that a lot of people are trying to approach the character, no, I don't think Miles works within the same setting as Peter Parker does. Again, I think you can make it work, but it's what you need is someone to really just get in there with a pitch for the character. I feel like the problem with Miles Morales in comics right now is that nobody has a pitch for the character. He feels like an afterthought, which is very counterintuitive because he's marketed as the next big thing, and it feels like Marvel just continues to set this character up for failure. Now, I mean, me being like the armchair, like, you know, quarterback, I guess, like I have pitches for Miles Morales. I know what I would do with the character, as well as other people. You know, they have ideas for what to do with Miles Morales as a character, but I don't know. Also, the problem with having Miles be Peter's Nightwing is that, well, Nightwing is Nightwing. You know, like Dick Grayson's progression starts as he is Batman's sidekick. He is Batman's little helper. He doesn't become Nightwing until 40 years later. 45 years later. Yeah, like there's 45 years worth of like character build-up. Like that's like half a century of character build-up to Dick Grayson becoming his own man. And then after 1984 to 2000, well, 1984 to like 1994 4, I guess, is more like it, because that's when Dick Grayson becomes Batman the first time. But we know that's temporary, so I guess that doesn't really count. But like 1984 to 2009. That's what, like 30 something years? Yeah. For Dick Grayson to become Batman, in a sense that where like people got the idea that it was going to be a permanent thing. I don't think Miles can do that. Because on a fundamental level, Marvel starts Miles out as the Spider-Man replacement. You know, that's where Miles starts. Very tricky. Very tricky. Interesting question, New Type. New Menace says, but I'll think about it. I'll keep thinking about it. But New Menace says, yeah, I'm planning to get at least the first 4 Ultimate Collections in 3 or 4 months, and so on, including Invincible. Yeah, dude. Good luck with Invincible. That's a really good comic series. I absolutely love it. I loved it as it was coming out. That was a great comic. Really good superhero stuff. Until it wasn't. Until it just kind of became Dragon Ball Z. Which, if you're just getting into Invincible, get ready for that. And I mean that in like the best way possible. It's a really good series. It does kind of have the thing that kind of annoys me with indie superhero stuff, where like it kind of pretends like it's like, look at me, like I'm not like those Marvel DC pussies, because I get to like cuss and I get to like have blood, and superheroes, fuck being a hero. It does kind of dip into that a little bit, and it does feel like Robert Kirkman is maybe airing some of his grievances with working at Marvel out in the pages of Invincible. And like he's projecting some of his problems with mainstream superhero content, using Mark Grayson as a conduit for those feelings. But still a really good comic, really good superhero comic. It's very beautiful. I absolutely love that series. The ending is something that grows on you. I'll just say that. If you haven't gotten to the ending of Invincible yet, it's gonna be one of those situations where I think when you read it the first time, you're gonna be pissed. You're gonna think, holy shit, I've just wasted all my time and money on this shitty comic. But it's not. The ending is very good in my opinion. It's taken me about 2 years to come to that conclusion. But I'm here now, and I'm telling you, I think it's an ending that you appreciate as time goes on. Mainly because it is an ending, and that you don't really get that in mainstream superhero comics. Outside of like, Spider-Man Life Story, or Fantastic Four Life Story, which is also a great comic. Or what is it? All-Star Superman, those are endings to those characters that we will never see in like a main, Marvel DC kind of fare. So yeah, Invincible's really good for that. And it has like a strong beginning, middle, and end. Joshua Haynes says, which DC title would you give to Al Ewing? I think Justice League. Sorry, I should finish your question first. I think he would write a pretty great Legion of Superheroes series. Yes, Al Ewing would do an amazing Legion of Superheroes book. I also think he would do an amazing Justice League book. Put Al Ewing on Justice League, please. That's what I want. That's really what I want. Tristan says, I thought of Tom Taylor doing a Legion of Superheroes series along with Ivan Reis. That could be cool. It just depends on which Tom Taylor you're going to get. Because there are 2 Tom Taylors. There's a Tom Taylor who puts out stuff like I was gonna go on a whole list about like really great Tom Taylor books. Oh, Injustice and Dark Knights of Steel. But there's also the Tom Taylor that puts out like the Laura Kinney Wolverine book and Superman Son of Kal-El. Tom Taylor is the definition of a hit or miss writer. Do I think Tom Taylor would do a really good job with Legion of Superheroes? Probably. Hopefully. But again, it's like flipping a coin with Tom Taylor. I don't know. Sometimes he may be good, sometimes he may be shit. It's just gonna be like that. But all this Legion of Superheroes talk, I would love to see like a proper Legion of Superheroes comic. You know? One that's like not concerned. One that's like not concerned with, you know, trying to like fix continuity or like do this or do that or like travel to the past and like retcon this. No, just give me Warhammer with superheroes in the future. That's all I fucking want. That's all Legion of Superheroes needs to be, honestly. You know what? Hickman would do an amazing Legion of Superheroes book. Yeah. Jonathan Hickman would do an amazing Legion of Superheroes book. Yeah, that's me coming to that right then and there. But yeah, Tom Taylor might too. I don't know. New Type JB Lee says, I refuse to consider modern Ben Reilly as the same character as 90s Ben Reilly. Ben in the Clone Saga was a cool hero and was one of the best parts of that arc. I see modern Ben as a clone of a clone. Well, you aren't wrong in that assessment. Yeah. I think granted, I didn't read the comic because I'm not reading the Beyond arc, but from out of context panels that I've seen on social media, that sounds like it's exactly the case with Ben Reilly. Post, was it Clone Conspiracy? That Dan Slott event where he wanted to try his hand at doing Clone Saga, but better. But yeah, no, the Ben Reilly that we have now is not the original Ben Reilly. Or at the very least, I don't think it's supposed to be the original Ben Reilly. So technically, you're right. And I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I read all that stuff, because I didn't. I've read a handful of like those issues, and I read the end of that series. Series. I read the end of that whole status quo, but I didn't read all the Ben Reilly stuff. I couldn't do it. Outside of Ben Reilly's costume, I don't really like Ben Reilly. I'm sorry. I hope I don't offend you in saying that, but you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Ben Reilly. His costumes are dope though. I'll give him that. Ben Reilly has like whenever he shows up in comics, he's like a 100% better designed character than Peter Parker could ever hope to be. But yeah, those are just my feelings personally on the matter. But yeah, guys, this was fun. I'm really glad I was able to like get out here and do this for you guys. Fuck it. We missed last week. We can go another hour. But yeah, no. Actually, hold the fuck up. I see 3 of you motherfuckers in the as viewers. First of all, let me know what your favorite comics coming out right now are. Like in the chat. Do it. Tell me what your favorite comics are right now. Also give me likes. I demand likes. I'm not gonna wink at you like that. Sorry. But yeah, tell me what your favorite comics coming out right now are. What came out this week? that you're like really invested in. Again, for me, not much came out this week. Outside of this like Suicide Squad book, which I only really got because I think the art is fantastic. Let me show you some of this shit. First of all, Jordi Belair does the colors, and Jordi Belair is like my favorite colorist working in the industry right now. Just absolutely breathtaking stuff. What's another one? Oh, this is really good. Yeah, I absolutely love Jordi Belair's work. And the writer is Cy Spurrier, and I know them from Hellblazer, like the reboot that was just kind of rushed the fuck out of out of print for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, no, Simon Spurrier is a really good writer. So them on a Suicide Squad book is just genius in my opinion. I was hesitant to pick this up though, because the last Black Label Suicide Squad book I thought was canceled for the longest time. Suicide Squad Get Joker. I love the first 2 issues, and then issue 3 is supposed to come out, and then it just doesn't. Like issue 2 dropped in like November, like the middle of November, and still waiting on issue 3. I just saw today though, issue 3 comes out in April. It's gonna get like that. That's okay. That is a pretty inexcusable delay. Like what's going on there? Now, if it's like a health issue or something like that, like maybe like hopefully Brian Azzarello didn't get COVID or anything like that. But like if it's like a health issue or something like that, or like an emergency, that's understandable. But like at least fucking say something, Like just say something. It's like when Peter David was it Peter David? No, it was Kurt Busiek. When Kurt Busiek wasn't able to complete the Batman Creature of the Night book because he had like some health concerns. Understandable. Like that's fine. But just fucking tell me something. Don't just leave me high and dry for like 6 months and go like, oh yeah, here's this book that you were collecting, but then dropped because we stopped publishing it for like 6 months. That's frustrating. So yeah, I almost didn't pick this up because of what DC did with Suicide Squad Get Joker, but I thought this was pretty fun from what I skimmed. Also, I picked it up because the cover looked really cool. Let's see. Josiah Haynes says Todd DeZago wrote the best Ben Reilly. Todd DeZago. I know that name, but I can't place it right now. I'll come back to that. New type JB Lee says the appeal of 90s Ben Reilly and potentially Miles Morales is that Peter can finally have his happy ending with that's what she said, with Mary Jane, and retire so a successor can take his place. Yes. Okay. Yes. And that's okay. So was it you, New Type, who said that Miles could be the Nightwing for Peter Parker? In that sense, yes, I totally agree. And I also have this hot take about Spider-Man. I'm not sure if anyone else is gonna agree with this. I think Peter Parker should retire that role to somebody younger. Like honestly, like after reading the Straczynski comic and after reading Chip Zdarsky's Spider-Man Life Story, I honest to God believe that Spider-Man is a thing that in this, in a thematic sense, just going off of like the history of the character and whatnot, I think Spider-Man is a perfect allegory for youth and the trials of youth and like, you know, what it means to be a young man. I don't think Peter Parker should be a young man anymore. I think Peter Parker should be a grown man dealing with grown man shit, doing his grown man things. It's like a 35-year-old goddamn man with his wife and like potential child, and Peter should just surrender the Spider-Man mantle to Miles, who is a young man, who is, you know, that's what Miles' role should be in the 616. But you have to sacrifice Peter in order to do that. And I don't think Marvel, calling it like it is, I don't think Marvel has the balls to do that. But you know, I totally agree. And also just in a general sense, the appeal of Marvel is that, okay, so with DC is the pantheon, you know, it's Greek mythology, it's Egyptian mythology, it's the Bible, you know, it's these larger than life stories, and Marvel is, for all intents and purposes, the real world with superheroes in it. Part of the appeal of Marvel is that with it being the real world with superheroes in it, you're gonna watch those people, you know, those people who dress up as superheroes, they grow up, they grow and change, and they, you know, they live and they die. That's what Marvel is. That's what Marvel should be. Okay, I maybe shouldn't say should be, but you know, that's, for all intents and purposes, that's kind of how I feel when I think of the Marvel Universe and when I go back and read Marvel Comics. And I do think Peter's end goal should be retirement or death. With the Spider-Man mantle being passed down to some other young man or young woman. Just someone who's young and represents a teenage struggle, because that's what Spider-Man kind of is supposed to be. Yeah, no. Those are my feelings on it. Tristan says my favorite comics that I like right now are The Amazing Spider-Man, Venom, X-Men, Nightwing, Miles Morales, Hulk, Moon Knight, and many other books. Damn, you got a nice little haul right there. You know, Amazing Spider-Man. I'm curious. What are you interested in are you interested in the Zeb Wells and John Domita Jr. series coming out soon? I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was talking about how he's excited for Zeb Wells, but like Romita Jr. is like, it's like a threat to him. And I can see where he's coming from for that, because my buddy was collecting Superman when Romita Jr. was working for DC, and he's just not a fan of Romita Jr.'s work at DC at all. I'm not either, but I also think it's a coloring issue. I think the colorists that DC has on tap are just fundamentally different from the colorists that Marvel has on tap, and I think Marvel's coloring team is just a far better fit for Romita Jr.'s style. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Yeah, no, there's a lot of cool stuff out there coming out right now. Great list. New Menace says, yeah, I joke about the Viltrumites being ripoffs of the Saiyans to my siblings, so I'll take your word. Yeah, dude, it gets very Dragon Ball Z, but in a good way. I like Invincible a lot. Without giving too much away, I think that's a really good comic. Tristan says, what would you think of a House of Kent in color? What? Wait. What would you think of a House of Kent in color? Flash, Red and Gold. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. House of Kent in color, Flash, Red and Gold, and Nightwing, Black and Blue anthology books that are similar to Superman, Blue and Red, and Batman, Black and White, like the color books. That'd be really cool. I guess. So the thing with, like, Batman, Black and White, and okay, well, I like the idea of, like, the anthology format. I just don't want them to, like, get milked dry to the point where they don't feel special. That's kind of the fear that I have with, there's a Batman Black and White. Well, there's a Batman Black and White every, like, couple of years. But, like, with Superman Red and Blue, they're also doing Wonder Woman Black and Gold. I don't know why it's black and gold. I think white and gold would be a far better fit for Wonder Woman because, for a long time Wonder Woman wore the color white, and she's a character who's all about truth, and truth is pure. So I don't know why they didn't do white and gold. Feels weird. But they did Wonder Woman Black and Gold. I just don't want them to, like, dilute the brand of the color series for those characters. But yeah, because that's exactly what is going on with Marvel right now with the Black, White, and Blood series. Like, okay, Wolverine Black, White, and Blood, cool, because that's Wolverine. Deadpool Black, White, and Blood, okay, it's Deadpool. Deadpool's like a parody kind of character, sure. Elektra Black, White, and Blood. Moon Knight Black, White, and Blood. Moon Girl Double Dinosaur Black, White, and Blood. What the fuck are you doing, Marvel? Like, what's... Stop it. Stop. Just shut the mate. Chill out with the Black, White, and Blood. Right? Just calm down for a second. We don't need everything to be Black, White, and Blood. New Type JB Lee says, it seems like Kamala doesn't have the same problem as Miles. Just keep her in Jersey City and let her have fun superhero adventures. Yeah, although, again, so, and I think I've said this in videos before, the key difference between Miles Morales and Kamala Khan is that Kamala doesn't feel like she's just an idea. Kamala is a character. I know who she is. I know what her sensibilities are. I know what makes her tick. I know, what kind of food she likes. I know what kind of food she doesn't like. I know that she doesn't like alcohol. I know that she's an introvert. No, she's an extrovert. She is an introverted extrovert. I understand Kamala as a character. I understand why she does what she does. I understand who she is, and I can kind of have a solid idea where that character is gonna go in the future. I can still be surprised, but I'm along for the ride because Kamala is a character. Who is Miles? What are Miles' interests? Why is he Spider-Man? Why does he feel the need to be Spider-Man? Why does Miles feel the need to be a superhero in the first place? These are the questions I'm asking. That's my problem with Miles Morales. Like, Miles is a great idea, great concept, but he's not a character. Kamala Khan, she's a character. Nova, Sam Alexander, he's a character. Miles is not a character. Amadeus Cho, I don't like Amadeus Cho. I think he's fucking annoying, but he's a character. What is Miles? Who is Miles Morales? What are Miles' interests? In one comic over here, he is a D&D loving, fanfic masturbating, like, weirdo with, like, zero game. But, like, over there, in, like, the main Miles Morales book, he's an absolute Chad, who likes being Spider-Man because, he's always been Spider-Man, I guess. And that's it. That's all his character is. Like, do you smell the inconsistency there? Who is Miles? Say what you will about the legacy characters. Kate Bishop, you know who Kate Bishop is. You know who, not Isaiah Bradley. The Isaiah Bradley's grandson. I think his name's Patriot. From Young Avengers. You know who he is. You know who Stature is. You know who, all these other legacy characters in Marvel are. Who is Miles? And that's the problem. But yeah, Tristan says, yes, I'm excited for the Zeb Wells and John Domita Jr. Spider-Man series, and I know that Zeb is going to do a great job on Amazing. The whole thing where MJ is leaving Peter shocked me. Can't wait for April. Yeah, me too. Can I say that it doesn't shock me? Peter and MJ have a weird relationship where they are constantly on again and off again. They have been since the 70s. I'm not surprised. No, seriously, let's track this. 1971, I believe, Gwen Stacy dies. Peter and MJ begin dating around like the mid 70s. Like the who's doing that? I have it over there. I don't feel like reaching for that shit. But like in the mid 70s, like 73, 74, Peter and MJ. Well, actually 72. Like kind of immediately after Gwen dies, Peter starts bouncing to MJ, and he's like, "Oh, baby, hold me." So like Peter and MJ have been like. They were dancing, they were recording, they were and then they kind of get serious for a little bit throughout the 70s, and then Peter asks to marry her, and then she says no, and then she leaves, and then she's gone for like 4 years, and Peter dates Black Cat, and then MJ comes back in like the early 80s, and Peter and MJ start dating again, and then they get married, and it's like 1984, and they're married up until they're together up until 1998, I think it is, and then Mary Jane dies in a plane crash, and then a year later, I think it is, Peter finds her, and they reunite, but MJ's like, "Oh, I don't feel comfortable being in a relationship right now because I was kidnapped and maybe raped, kind of. Marvel doesn't talk about it, but the implications there." And they're separated from like the like 1999 to like 2002. When JMS is on the book, and then JMS puts them back together, and then from 2002 to 2007, they're together, but then one more day happens, and then they're not together again, from like 2008 to 2018, and now they're back together, and they've been together for the past 4 years, and now they're gonna be broken up again, maybe, like that's a very inconsistent relationship. It does. Like, like I think people romanticize Peter and MJ's relationship when really it's one of the most rocky relationships in comics. Like, it's not the same as, like, Lois Lane, Clark Kent, which is they are a consistent couple, with the exception of the New 52. But even then, with the new, like, even during the New 52, where, like, Superman was dating Wonder Woman, for that time period, it still felt like DC was building up to Superman and Lois getting together. Like, that build-up was there. Like, they were teasing it. So, just, yeah, no, yeah, Peter and MJ are not a consistent couple in the same way that, like, other comic book couples are consistent. So, yeah. Josiah says, I think you're right about John Romita Jr.'s art being weighed down by poor colors, because his art in Infinity was amazing, and I think it was a large part due to the colorist they paired him with. Yeah, dude, a lot of it comes down to coloring. Like, straight up, because I like to draw. I was going to say I do art, but it depends. Sometimes when I color my art, it comes out great. Sometimes when I color my art, it comes out like shit. Sometimes when I let other people color my art, it comes out amazing and looks way better than what I originally kind of drew. It just that's the artistic process with comics. Like, you look at John Romita Jr.'s early stuff when he first started working at Marvel in, like, the 70s, when he's doing Iron Man. His art looks drastically different then compared to what it would later kind of evolve into, because his art was being inked and I think colored by Bob Layton. Now, Bob Layton is a very powerful inker. He's one of those inkers who just kind of makes everyone who he's, inking over, their pencils, just look like Bob Layton. But then you get to, I can't think of the name of the colorist that Romita Jr. had when working on Amazing Spider-Man in the early 2000s, but that inker and that colorist team, they brought, like, some true to form magic to Romita Jr.'s pencils, and I like Romita Jr.'s art style. I know a lot of people are like, but I love Romita Jr.'s stuff. I love his stuff from the 80s with Amazing Spider-Man. I love his stuff from the early 2000s with Amazing Spider-Man. Very different. A lot of that comes down to the coloring and the inking. But, yeah, no. Then you get to, like, the, like, contemporary era when, guys like Scott Williamson, or not Scott, is it Scott Williams or Scott Williamson? I can't remember. They typically ink a lot of the Jim Lee artwork and a lot of the DC stuff. But, like, Jordi Belair and Scott Williams, when they're inking Johnny Romita Jr., that shit don't look good. It don't look good. Like, this is Jordi Belair inking what's your fucking name? Aaron Campbell. Looks great for Aaron Campbell. Also, Jordi Belair looks really good when inking Bilquis Evely. Jordi Belair does not look good on John Romita Jr. at all. Scott Williamson does not look good on John Romita Jr. at all. I think the colors for Superman Year 1 were alright. But felt a little heavy and kind of I don't know. It's hard to describe Superman Year One, at least visually. But yeah, no, like I'm curious to know what the pencils looked like versus what the final product looked like. Because no, dude, no. But his Marvel work looks amazing. So again, I think it just comes down to like the inkers and the colorists that he gets paired with. Josiah Haynes says, I want to see a Squirrel Girl Black, White, and Blood book. Yeah, you and me both, pal. Written by Garth Ennis and drawn by Corin Barlow. Squirrel Girl Black, White, and Blood. I'm trying to imagine what a Garth Ennis Squirrel Girl book looks like, Is it like a weird, fucked up, like, dark comedy where Squirrel Girl is, like, actually schizophrenic and she thinks she can talk to squirrels? And the way in which she beats everyone up is just everyone's, like, terrified of this, like... Also, with it being Garth Ennis, she'd be overweight. So like, it's just, like, unconventionally plump in size girl, college girl, just running up on people in the street dressed up in like a squirrel furry outfit and just beating the shit out of them. Is that how you get the Garth Ennis version of Squirrel Girl versus the Marvel Universe? Maybe. I'd read that. I don't think the people who love the Ryan North Squirrel Girl book would be into that, but I would love that. I'd be all into that shit. Oh, that'd be fucking brilliant. Oh, that'd be great. Squirrel Girl, Black, White, and Blood. Written by Garth Ennis, drawn by Corin Barlow. Brilliant. New Type JB Lee says, when done well, the rocky nature of Peter and MJ felt more real than a lot of other superhero marriages. Many writers were good at writing the pair, like J. D. Mateus, Jerry Conway, David Michelinie, and J. Michael Straczynski. I agree. I try not to, like, pick on Dan Slott, but he makes it kind of hard. The thing about Spider-Man is that Spider-Man's not a superhero comic. It's not a superhero comic. The movies are superhero movies. The video games are superhero video games. It's power fantasy. It's all about the spectacle. But when it comes to the comics, Spider-Man's not a superhero book. It's not a superhero story. Spider-Man is a romance series about this college student, or I guess this, not really college student, it's about this young man who lives in a world full of superheroes, and the focus is on his life and his struggle as Peter Parker, with all the superhero stuff kind of going on in the background, and all of that informs the decisions that he has to make in his civilian life, so that he can solve problems, like real world problems, like, shit that we go through every day. That's what Spider-Man is. And I think you really need like a relationship kind of writer, like a romance writer, like someone who gets people and like people struggles, like real life shit, to handle Spider-Man properly. what Dan Slott did was take this romance character, take this soap opera character, and make them a big time superhero in the same vein as like Superman. And for me, that's why a lot of the relationship stuff doesn't work. And that's why, ultimately, I don't like Dan Slott's run on Spider-Man. Tristan says, any thoughts on the series ideas? Impulse by Brian Michael Bendis? Pass. Sorry, I should probably finish your question. Teen Titans Young Justice by Joshua Williamson, Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle by Dan Jurgens, and Flash Red Arrow by Mark Waid. Flash and Red Arrow by Mark Waid, yes, but I think most DC things by Mark Waid would be really good. That aren't Superman. I don't think Mark Waid should do a Superman solo book at all. Sorry. I know a lot of Superman diehards would, rip my throat out and rape my neck hole for saying something so blasphemous, but I don't typically subscribe to the idea that writers who are die-hard fans of characters should not write them. I don't agree with that notion inherently. But Mark Waid really makes me buy into it. Because that's my biggest problem with Superman Birthright. Shit, dude, that's my biggest problem with Kingdom Come. It feels like it is being written by a Superman fan who's just kind of edging themselves to Superman. And putting them against straw men against everyone else, just to showcase how cool Superman is. I really don't think Mark Waid is the guy to do a Superman book. But I think you put him on Flash and Red Arrow, fuck yes, that would be great. Dan Jurgens on Blue Beetle. Not Jaime. Jaime needs somebody with a more youthful touch. Vita Ayala. No, I'm kidding. That joke hurt my soul because Vita Ayala is currently writing that Static book. I really wish DC would just reprint the old Static stuff. This new shit is killing me, dog. Oh, man. It sucks saying that too, because Vita Ayala gets trashed by dog shit racist assholes all the time. So I don't want to add to that ire and saying Vita Ayala, man, she's bad, but she's not a good writer, and I can't just pretend that she is because she gets picked on by really fucked up people. But, yeah, no. But that's besides the point. Damn, I'm trying to think who would be really good. Brian K. Vaughan. Brian K. Vaughan would write an amazing Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle book. Would probably never do it because I think he's just completely done with Marvel DC stuff. But yeah, no, I think Brian K. Vaughan would be perfect for a Blue Beetle book. Who else is on this list? Young Justice by Joshua Williamson. I could see that working. I think Joshua Williamson would do an amazing job with a Young Justice book. Impulse by Brian Michael Bendis. I already answered that. No. I don't want to see that. Tristan says, my reading teacher likes The Impulse by Brian Michael Bendis and Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes idea. Oh, I'm glad your reading teacher likes them. Comics are subjective, it's the land of subjectivity. different folks got different strokes. New Type JB Lee says, do you feel Avengers Disassembled is the start of a decline in Bendis' writing? Because that event did Wanda dirty, and there are so many continuity errors. Bendis in the early 2000s specialized in gritty noir. I think putting Bendis on the Avengers was the biggest fucking mistake that Marvel ever made. Granted, I say that, but at that same time, Avengers Disassembled also helped revitalize the main. It helped revitalize interest in like the main line run on like the Avengers and those Avengers characters. Because I think what a lot of people forget is that after Kurt Busiek, actually in the middle of Kurt Busiek's run of the Avengers is kind of like all interest in those characters and that title just kind of goes away, and Mark Millar shows up, and Mark Millar is over everything, and we get Ultimates, which I fucking love. And yes, I am almost finished with my retrospective on Ultimates 2. Just give me a little bit of time. By the end of this month, that should be completed. Hopefully. Yeah, no, like, Mark Millar shows up. Completely turns the world on its ear and makes people fall in love with Captain America and Iron Man and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and Black Widow and Hawkeye and Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Hulk and the Avengers. Like, people give the Ultimates a lot of shit, but like I think people really underestimate nowadays how much of an impact Ultimates really had on Marvel as a whole. But the thing was, all of that interest was localized to the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Still, nobody was giving a shit about, Captain America in the main Marvel Universe. Nobody was giving a shit about Iron Man in the main Marvel Universe. Nobody gave a shit about Hawkeye in the main Marvel Universe, or Black Widow in the main Marvel Universe. Nobody cared about those characters. And then Bendis showed up, and he just kind of broke everything, like dramatically. It blew everyone's minds, and it was like the first step in like the salvation of the Avengers. Now I have problems with that whole line. I don't like the idea of Spiderman being on the Avengers. I don't like the idea of Luke Cage being on the Avengers. Like what? But those changes, generated interest in a lot of people who like weren't typically Avengers readers, and then the sales for the Avengers book went like that. So yeah, no, it's an interesting thing. I do think Bendis works way better when it comes to more street level stuff. Like, I think Alias is consummate Bendis. Ultimate Spider-Man is consummate Bendis. Spider-Man in general is where Bendis kind of like lives and thrives. Daredevil is perfect for Bendis. And then like Marvel kind of putting him into that like that more it's superheroes. That's not really Bendis' wheelhouse. That's not where his strengths are played to. But I think a lot of people bought it because Bendis put a lot of street level heroes on the Avengers, so it didn't really feel that jarring or bad at the time. But I think when the seams start to show is Siege. I think Siege is really when people start to go like, oh, what the fuck is this Bendis guy doing with the Marvel? What is this? What's going on here? I think that's when you start to see cracks in the armor. But yeah, I think Bendis is perfect for street level stuff, just not really the big, you know, superhero stuff. But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think. Actually, no. I do think Avengers Disassembled is like the beginning of the end for Bendis as like a superstar legend, I suppose. Josiah says, scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Neil Gaiman as a comic book writer? 11. No, I take that back. 15. Neil Gaiman is a brilliant writer. But like not in the same way that like Grant Morrison is a brilliant writer, and not in the same way that like, you know, Warren Ellis is a brilliant writer. Actually, no, you know what? No, I take that back. It's more so in the way that like Warren Ellis is kind of a brilliant writer. Because Neil Gaiman also has that thing where they really focus on, beyond just telling the story, they focus on like using the medium to the best of its ability. So there's a lot of stuff that's present in like Neil Gaiman work that you just kind of gloss over because you're not like thinking about it. But like when you look, like when someone like comics tropes, or like, you know, like those channels that like look at comics and like they analyze every single, you know, did you see the nook and cranny right here? See, this person is taking a shit right there, and this actually paid off when you see Asmodeus shit out of his penis and create the god character out of the essence of Thor. It's really deep, you know. Like Gaiman's brilliant like that, you know. Like Gaiman uses the mechanics that are inherently present to the storytelling medium that he's working in. And I think just beyond comics, Gaiman's an amazing storyteller. He's amazing when it comes to novels. He's amazing when it comes to, you know, films and even like children's books. Like Gaiman's just a great writer. But yeah, New Type JB Lee says, also speaking of Static, DC just released the Milestone Compendium that collects the old Static, Icon, Hardware, and other classic Milestone titles. Yes, they did. And I'm really wishing they just put out a fucking Static book. Like, no offense to like the old Milestone characters, no offense to anyone who loves the old Milestone characters. I view Milestone in the same way that I used to view Spider-Man for the Marvel Universe, and the same way that I used to view Batman for the DC Universe. Growing up as a little kid, when I looked at Batman, I knew Batman existed in a world with like other characters. Like, you know, there's a Superman, and there's a Green Arrow over there somewhere doing some weird shit over there. There's like an Etrigan, you know, there's a whole Justice League, I guess, but who the fuck cares? Because Batman is the main character of the show. It's all about Batman. He lives in a universe full of superheroes, sure, whatever, but Batman's the coolest one, and Batman's the main character. And I also used to feel the same way about Spider-Man for the Marvel Universe, you know? It used to be, you know, yeah, there's the X-Men over there, and there's like, you know, other characters like the Fantastic Four, and like there's a Captain America, sure, big whoop, there's an Iron Man, but really all those characters do is just inform the fact that Peter Parker lives in a world full of superheroes, and all they really do, all their importance is to just showcase how Peter Parker is a schlubby everyman kind of like rinky-dink hero in a world full of the real heroes. But really, Spider-Man's the real hero, because Spider-Man's the main character. That's how I used to view Spider-Man in relation to the Marvel Universe. That's how I used to view Batman in relation to the DC Universe. And that's how I used to view Static in relation to the Milestone Universe. The only difference between Static and Spider-Man and Batman is that I haven't really outgrown that when it comes to Static in the Milestone universe. I haven't. When like Hardware, sure, cool, don't give a shit. Blood Syndicate, people love Blood Syndicate. I couldn't. Icon and Rocket, nice. I suppose. Cool costumes, cool designs. Don't give a shit. As far as I'm concerned, Milestone, like the Dakota verse, that's Static's universe. That's where Static lives, and Static just lives in a universe full of other superheroes. I suppose, I guess, but they don't matter. This is Static's world, and everyone else just lives in it. That's how I felt about. That's how I felt about Static, and I guess still feel about Static. So really, I just want to see Static get reprinted. I don't care about the other superheroes. I don't care. Just give me more Static. And I mean no disrespect to any like creative teams. I mean no disrespect to anyone who loves those characters in that broader universe. That's just how I feel though. But yeah. Oh, Tevye showed up. Hey, what's up, Tevye? Cool timing. I'm glad you're here. Because I'm actually gonna wrap this up in a couple minutes. But hello, yeah. How's my day going? My day's doing pretty good. I went to physical therapy earlier because I got like, ow. I shouldn't have done that. Ow. But yeah, sports related injury, in my traps and my neck. So that's what the physical therapy's for. But yeah, no, day's going pretty well so far. Hung out with my girlfriend, got to go pick up some comics. Yeah, it was a great day. Tevye says, personally, I miss Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and Mary Jane being a married couple. Yeah, I can see that. Although for me, you showed up after I've already kind of said this, but Spider-Man is a soap opera book. You know, Spider-Man is it's not a superhero comic, you know, where like, you know, the hero gets the girl and everything's fine. It's a soap opera where the hero's life is dog shit because they can't get anything together properly. And that's what Spider-Man kind of is. And why Peter and Mary Jane's relationship has just been completely rocky for the past 40 plus years. You know? So as much as I like that status quo of Peter and MJ being married and like, you know, Peter growing up and Peter and MJ growing together, I also know that's probably not, unless Marvel just decides to completely, you know, goodbye, you know, let that character go off into the world and do their own thing, and retire them, while like somebody else like a Miles Morales or, you know, an Anya Corazon comes in, like takes that place and fills that void. Peter's life will never be ideal. Just won't happen. And Tevye says the stream froze. Yeah, it's been doing that a lot lately. My internet's been kind of jaggedy for the past couple weeks. I think so. They ended up changing my my plan, but yeah, no, that's kind of what it is. Tevye says, even though technically speaking, you can still have Peter and Mary Jane become great parents to their daughter Mayday, Parker, Spider-Girl, Alice, and kicking in the main. Oh, alive and kicking in the main Marvel universe. That could be cool, but I think you'd have to retire Peter Parker. I think you would have to do that in order to get there. Tevye says, speaking of which that reminds me, any opinion on this Dark Crisis event. I talked about that earlier in the stream. But I guess since we're wrapping up here, I'll loop back around to it. It's like a circle. It just kind of it begins where it ends. It ends where it begins. Dark Crisis. Maybe it'll be good. I hope it'll be good. I've lost complete faith in DC doing anything interesting with their legacy characters for any extended period of time. So hopefully this whole Dark Crisis is good. Hopefully Death of the Justice League is good. Hopefully this whole new status quo where all the legacy characters are going to be propped up, put on a pedestal. Hopefully that works out. Regardless of the quality of the event, and regardless of the quality of the status quo, I don't believe that there will be any long-lasting fruit that comes of it. Shit, that was a very downer kind of point. Anybody have any other questions? So we can end this on on a more positive note. Okay. New type JB Lee. The recent Wally West book was good. I agree. I love the current Wally West book. It's not perfect, but I think it's a fun Wally West book, and it's everything that it needs to be. And with that, I think it's a pretty good place to end this episode. Ending on a positive note. Yeah, guys, thanks for showing up. Thanks for talking about some comics with me. I love doing this with you guys. We went for 2 hours this week. Typically the show is about an hour, but because we ended up missing last week, I wanted to compensate for some lost time. But yeah, guys, thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming by. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Share, support the channel. If you want to see more content like this, all you gotta do is subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And if you are subscribed, hit the bell for notifications if you haven't already, because YouTube is being weird. And people, I've been told, aren't being alerted to when I upload new content. So, hit that bell for notifications. It'll make it sound like that. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Have a beautiful week. And as always, until next time, adios, nachos, adios. Damn it, I was gonna wing and but fuck it, whatever. Just gonna. Goodbye.